like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV Radio.
Are you ready to travel? We got all the travel buzz here on Smart People, Travel Wise with Alvin Adriano on PHLV Radio.
Welcome. What a crazy March it certainly has been. And I don't know about you, but if you've been outside, it's like 80 degrees one day, snowing the next. No matter where you are in the world, it seems like you can never really predict the weather. Well, no matter, because we're going to have some Pacific sun shining down on us today. I can't wait to have our guests come out and share some uplifting and some great news about travel. I mean, we all know that travel is surging more than ever. Borders are reopening, quarantines have been removed, and we're seeing government remove the mandatory face masks all around the world. And as people begin to transition to life post-pandemic, the travel community is buzzing around with a bright future ahead. It's going to be an exciting episode, but first, if you're just tuning in, my name is Alvin Adriano, CEO of Travel Wise International, and I'm your host here on Smart People Travel Wise. Here we chat with travel professionals to get a glimpse of the travel industry from different perspectives. But I'm so grateful for all of you to spend a few minutes of your time today with us here on PHLV Radio. But if you have been to Hawaii or if you're planning to go to Hawaii, please hashtag aloha and put it in the comments. I'm pretty sure you all know what destination is coming on the show, but the playground of the Pacific, it's the beautiful and lush state of Hawaii. So aloha to everyone. Yes, the dream island in the Pacific, one of the best destinations to visit and has been a go-to destination throughout the pandemic. Hawaii has been a mainland paradise in which Hawaii was able to maintain a sliver of tourism while we waited as other destinations begin to open up. On today's show, I have the honor of having Robyn Basso, Senior Director of Travel Industry Partnerships for the Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau. Robyn leads the development and execution of HVCV's sales and marketing strategy designed to promote travel trade growth from the U.S. Robyn joined HVCV in 2008 and has over 28 years of experience in the travel industry and over 20 years concentrated on selling Hawaii. Please smash those heart buttons and please welcome the amazing Robyn Basso.
Aloha, everyone. Mahalo, Alvin, for that very kind introduction. And so happy and honored to be here with you to talk about Hawaii today.
Oh, I'm so excited too, because Hawaii is everyone's favorite paradise. And so I'm so glad that you're on here to share all the great news about what's going on in Hawaii. But first, how's everything with you? How has 2022 shaped for you and what's been going on?
Oh, goodness. Well, I feel like after all of these months, of challenges, it feels like this glimpse of sunshine and optimism. There's that pent-up demand for travel, for everyone, myself included. And it's wonderful to see some positive news and such optimism from travelers and travel advisors. And we're really busy. We're busy planning, educating, promoting to get people, inspired to travel, and especially to travel to Hawaii. So
that's great. I always tell, in the travel community, it's so hard. It was tough 2 years, but all 22 smiles all on the travel professionals. People are excited, the optimism. Now it's just turning into physical bookings and people are really getting back to what their passions were. So I'm just really excited for the rest of 2022.
Absolutely. Me too.
So, we talk about this, and 2022 is shaping up to be a great year for travel. But let's talk about how Hawaii was affected by the pandemic and how tourism kind of shifted during that time.
Oh my gosh. Well, obviously it was devastating, for Hawaii. You have an island community that is so dependent economically on tourism, right? And to see that come to a grinding halt just had an incredibly devastating impact on the people of Hawaii, on the visitor industry, the economics, and everyone felt it. It was really, really challenging. And as we kind of navigated through the pandemic, we really had to, everyone had to pivot, right? We're also so sick of saying that word pivot, right? But we did, we were marketers, and we had to then shift and be completely focused on health and safety and almost become scientists.
Yeah.
And we had to transition our entire marketing organization to, first, it was an outbound call center.
Mhm.
If you can believe that, where before the Safe Travels program launched, we were having to call and check on people who were in quarantine to make sure they were safe, that they had enough food, that they didn't have a temperature. I mean, we literally had to learn to do that. And then once the Safe Travels program was launched, which basically gave people an opportunity to visit Hawaii without the quarantine, there were all the questions about the protocols. So to give you an idea, our office typically got maybe 40 phone calls in a week, from visitors. We were getting over 2,200 a day.
Oh my goodness.
So we had to address concerns from travelers. What tests do I have to take? How does this work? Calls from travel advisors to just ensure that everyone had the right information, on safety protocols.
Yeah.
And for myself and for our team, it was to really focus on education and, do so many, webinars and with travel advisors, just really focused on training and education and giving people the tools that they needed, to be able to advise their clients. So, it's been a, and of course, staff reductions, many organizations, including ours, had to go through some significant staff reductions. But we all really pulled together, worked together, for the state and did the best we can. And it's nice to see that we're kind of coming out of this, the other side, in good place to succeed moving forward.
Yeah, kudos to you and your team. Every organization in travel was really affected, and the state of Hawaii did such a tremendous job maintaining. I mean, I think every organization really found out a lot of pitfalls and bottlenecks, and communication was one of the highest things because we did not know how inefficient we were. We did not know how inefficient we were with sanitation. I can't imagine how dirty everything was before all of this happened. We talk about it, but it's just like, man, what were we doing before? And so, we talk about all of these lessons that as an organizations, revisiting core values, revisiting our purpose and mission. But, if you can sum up the biggest challenges for Hawaii, what were the biggest challenges for you guys as a destination?
I mean, I would say, predominantly, the biggest challenge was to prioritize health and safety above all else. So like I said, it wasn't marketing, it was communicating safety messaging. So that was by and large, the biggest challenge that we had to do. And then, really just to make sure that I think that expectations were set as well. I mean, traveling during the pandemic is obviously different. Yeah. And even now, the travel experience, though we're coming out with more and more restrictions being lifted, is not as it once was. So I think, working with our travel advisors and our partners to set realistic expectations, around what does the experience look like? Yes, there might be these protocols that you have to, abide by. You might have to book earlier because of staffing challenges. You might have to make reservations for things now that you didn't have to before because of capacity challenges. Mm-hmm. So I think setting realistic, expectations was very, very important as well in terms of the visitor experience, and navigating, the comfort levels of local residents and having visitors coming back and, making sure that, we're not only focused on visitor satisfaction and their experience, but also resident sentiment to ensure that they knew that we were doing our best to prioritize health and safety, and to encourage visitors to come and be mindful travelers. So, it was really kind of, that balance, right, of the visitors as well as the resident sentiment. So those are some challenges that, I think we've navigated through and continue to navigate through as we move forward.
Oh, I love that. I mean, those are some great nuggets, and I'm glad you were able to share that, because it kind of leads into my next question. Because, I mean, we've all noticed that people, organizations, companies, I mean, they did a real 180 and did some soul searching during the pandemic, trying to find purpose, trying to find meaning to their actions. And I know Hawaii is gearing towards a rebrand itself to attract travelers who are looking for experiences to help volunteer to plant trees, clean beaches, taro patches, practices of sustainability and mindfulness. I mean, can you speak on how these needs and wants of travelers are going to be addressed in Hawaii and how that's going to be a new focus for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. And I think, we're not alone as a destination in, using the pandemic to take that step back and to really re-examine and look at how do we want to recreate tourism in a way that is sustainable for the future. And, it was so important to do it. And we were already on the path in 2019, as that was our record-setting year for visitor arrival numbers, as we exceeded 10 million visitors for the first time in the destination's history. So, and as we all know, over tourism, you want a nice balance. You can't have no tourism, but over tourism does bring its own set of challenges. And so we were already on our road to promoting responsible tourism. We had a program called Kuleana, which means responsibility. So we have these beautiful videos that were really promoting responsible tourism. Mm-hmm. Anything from, when you're hiking to stay on the path or to use reef safe sunscreen, all those kind of things. And then the pandemic hits, and then it really just, magnifies the importance of looking at what is sustainable for the future, for residents, for the natural resources, et cetera. Because, we still are a small island community, even though we are a large tourism destination. And so the Hawaii Tourism Authority, which is our governing body, kind of took a step back and said, let's work together with private industry partners and to figure out a way that we can create ultimately regenerative tourism. Mm-hmm. And so basically, Malama Hawaii was born, and Malama in Hawaiian means to care for the earth, each other, and ourselves, which is such an important concept always, but now more than ever. And so it was basically reaching out to partners to say, hey, if we have visitors come and participate in a volunteerism activity, the hotels agreed to provide either a discount or a free night. So it was encouraging visitors to come back, attracting visitors that wanted to give back to the destination and, leave Hawaii better than when they found it, and working side by side with local people, ensuring that Hawaii is as beautiful it is for years and years to come. So we launched this in November of 2020. We're getting more and more. Now we have 110 partners, and that includes hoteliers as well as nonprofit organizations. And the experiences range anything from planting a legacy tree to help with reforestation, or helping to clean up an ancient fish pond, or, beach cleanups, or even something like creating a quilt for a kapuna or an elder. And these activities are not, 8 hours of hard labor, out in the sun. It's a short opportunity where, again, someone can give back side by side with the local people, have this wonderful, intimate, authentic, enriching experience. And we've just seen such an interest in this from everyone, because it's a real experience. It's really experiencing the place and the people and feeling a part of a community. So we're going to continue to focus on this. And if anyone's interested in just more information on our website, our gohawaii.com, if you put in gohawaii.com/Malama, it has all the information on our partners, on the different opportunities. You can actually book with our participating hotels, or some of our tour operators are even offering Malama Hawaii packages as well. And then we do have opportunities that are kind of over and above those programs as well. So if somebody just wants to come and give back, there are so many ways that they can do it as well. So this is definitely not a promotion. This is really a new way of looking at tourism, and it's definitely here to stay. And we always appreciate what travel advisors can do to share, to spread the word and be our ambassadors, and just share how important this is, for Hawaii moving forward.
No, I love that. I think what we learned from the pandemic is really that community connection and finding ways to have purpose is such an important characteristic of a personality that we're all looking. I mean, I can't imagine what type of soft skills we're going to have to relearn coming back into in-person, and be able to incorporate that, because destinations, we think our Instagram photos and eating local food are part of it, but actually being part of a destination, planting a tree and saying, hey, 5 years later, 10 years later, I'm going to visit that tree that I put there. And it's a part of the environment. I mean, and you're right. I never thought about Hawaii being such a small community, but it is. It's an island, and a lot of visitors come in there. I mean, exponential amount of visitors compared to the residents that are in there. Well, that also leads me into, we talked about over tourism and then now residents. What is the sentiment down there? Like now that it's getting close. I mean, I think you're at 80% of pre-pandemic levels. How are residents, sentiment towards tourism reopening?
I think that, it was a challenge through the pandemic, right? Because as you mentioned, and I appreciate you sharing that people don't think of Hawaii as this small island community because it is such a large tourism destination. But, when you thought about it, when you're thinking about like, hospitals and resources, I mean, we're so minimally available. So we had to make sure that, those were there for the residents. And so, throughout the pandemic, we always wanted to assure everyone that we were always prioritizing health and safety first and foremost. So that's why, certain protocols were put into place, because we want to make sure that the residents know, that the visitor industry employees know that we are prioritizing their health and safety. And on the other side, so that's one key component. On the other side, of course, is the economic impact of tourism that is so important to the local people. And so tourism is needed, but I think it's needed in a in a moderate way, right, that is sustainable for the future. So, the Hawaii Tourism Authority, which again is our governing body, has done a really amazing job, even pre-pandemic, but now more so, just opening up the dialogue of communication and being very transparent with residents to say, and collaborate, residents that are on our communities in terms of how we're going to market the destination, being instrumental in the development of the Malama Hawaii program. We've also instituted destination managers for each island. And their role is to basically just ensure that we balance, right, what is good for Hawaii and what is good for the residents with the visitor experience. And that's anything from ensuring that local communities, benefit from tourism, renewing and reviewing regulations, involving the local community in tourism decisions and choices, and us educating travelers on how to be mindful. And I think that through that process and that open communication and dialogue and understanding, that the visitor sentiment is definitely improving. I mean, you always hear about the aloha spirit, and that's something that has, been synonymous with Hawaii for years as, people being very welcoming to visitors. But, as we got to those over tourism numbers, number one, and then as we got to the pandemic with people potentially being fearful of people bringing in COVID, we had to really make sure that we were looking at that on a consistent basis. And that's something actually that our organization is measured on, is resident sentiment. So it's been a focus for a number of years. I think it's getting better and better, but it's as we work together, right, and as we educate people about being, mindful travelers, that it's going to even get better and better than it is today.
I love that. I mean, it's true. I mean, when people are fearful, it's because they're uncertain of what is coming next. And I love the communication that HVCV is doing, because that's really all that you can do. Letting people understand what you have done to prevent, protocols that you're doing. And I love the fact that the transparency, because I mean, having the locals be part of the program, it allows them some kind of ownership, which is what we all want every traveler to do. Have a little bit of ownership so that you can have this for the next generations to come. So it just builds a bigger community for all of it, and looking at Hawaii not as a destination, but as a part of everyone. And I love that idea.
Yeah, no, and we've had such incredible support, not only from our travel advisors, but from our supplier partners. Amazing support with them sharing videos about mindful travel on the airplane, or when you arrive in the hotel, or communicating this as people arrive. So it's really, it takes a village, right? Everyone working together to communicate this consistent messaging, and I think it's going to have a fantastic and a positive impact moving forward.
Yeah, and hopefully we appreciate our playground in the Pacific more and more, so that we can have it for generations to come. But we're really going to know because Hawaii's recently announced that they'll be dropping all pandemic restrictions in March 25th. So what led to this decision? And in your opinion, does this really mark the end of the pandemic, or where are we at? What do you feel, Robyn?
Oh, geez. Well, you know what? It's I felt really, really good when we kind of heard that some announcement was coming from the governor. But as many of you know, Hawaii was very thoughtful about the travel protocols from day one. Some people could say that we were strict, this and that, but again, we had to prioritize health and safety. So it was really a constant monitoring, not only of the number of cases, but the number of hospitalizations, everything going on that the governor was looking at, that health officials were looking at, to really have that comfort level to say, okay, we're at a place now where we feel we can lift some of these restrictions because, the people of Hawaii did such a great job at, getting vaccinated, keeping safe, doing everything they needed to do. So it was not without a lot of thought, consideration, time and research that those decisions were made. And so it was not only that the Safe Travels program will be ending, but also even the lifting of the indoor mask mandate after March 25th. So, many people were thrilled to hear that. We're thrilled to hear that. And as to if I think this is the end, I don't have a crystal ball. I would hope to say that we are through the pandemic and on our way to a brighter future. It's hard to say, but again, I think that going through this together, everyone will continue to monitor how things go, and hopefully we won't have to implement any additional restrictions moving forward. But it's really difficult. I can't believe that it's almost 2 years to the day that we're still talking about this, that everybody thought it could be a blip of a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So hard to say, but I'm optimistic and hopeful that we're definitely through the pandemic.
Yeah, I remember March 6th when I came back from Philippines and everything closed. I was like, maybe 6 months. I've never seen the world close, and 2 years later, I can now say I've seen the world close. So we should all.
And you survived it, most importantly. So
hats or shirts that say "I survived the pandemic."
Exactly.
That's great. I mean, we're all looking for new ways to innovate, and a lot of destinations, not Hawaiian, have built their infrastructure preparing for the boom in tourism. Since Hawaii is an island destination, will there be other less visited destinations opening up, or will it be surprises for travelers coming to Hawaii for the first time, finding new attractions or areas that they've never been able to visit before in 2022?
I wouldn't say really new destinations per se in 2022. I would say it's probably related to more so newer experiences. You're always going to have refreshed hotel product and things like that. Us as a marketing organization, we've always tried to promote island distribution. So give equal play. We never want one island to be at 90% occupancy and the other island to be, at 10%. So we always try to give, equal play and make sure that the visitation is fairly even over the islands. What I would say is it's, and I've already seen it happening over the past few years, even leading up to the pandemic, is, new experiences. We find that people are looking for, again, those richer, authentic, intimate experiences. There's a lot more, I feel like, incredible cultural experiences, that really go deeper, than many of the, kind of big tourist destinations have seen over the past few years. Hotel companies, offering really amazing intimate experiences, from lei making to hula, and again, to visiting ancient fish ponds and understanding, sustainability and the Apua'a system that, really sustained Hawaii for so many years. We're also seeing more and more people wanting, private tours, specialized tours, wanting to do it as a couple or as a family. So I think you're going to see more and more of those experiences offered. because that's what people are looking for. More culinary, more ag tourism experiences, which again, Hawaii was always already, on the road to create. But people again are looking for authentic, intimate, and unique culinary culture, outdoor type experiences. So I think you're going to see more of those experiences available. And I also think that to help control capacity, there are going to be more activities and attractions that are going to be requiring reservations. And that's just a fact to really control the amount of people in any one area on the island. One example will be if anyone's done the road to Hana on Maui, everybody wants to stop at beautiful Waianapa Napa State Park to see the beautiful black sand beach. Well, now you need to make a reservation up to 14 days in advance for a particular time slot.
Wow.
So you have to arrive during that time slot. And again, that's just to control, the amount of people in any one spot. Hanauma Bay on the island of Oahu has instituted a new reservation system within 48 hours. They're limiting the amount of people per day and per hour. And again, this is all a result of seeing, the destination and nature rejuvenate with the pause and visitation. So Hanauma Bay, really, you saw the coral rejuvenate. You saw the monk seals and the turtles coming back on shore. So we don't want to go back to so many people visiting that it has a negative impact on the environment. And so I think you'll see that continuing to happen throughout the destination. And all it really requires is a little bit more due diligence and planning on the, in advance, to make sure that the clients can have that experience. The visitors can still have that experience, but it just might take a reservation and a little bit more planning. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a better experience for the visitor. They're not going to be fighting with, thousands of people at one time. And of course, it's better for the environment and for the local people as well.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, what we learned now is strategic planning is important, and we never planned for a pandemic, anything to happen like that. But anytime it happens again, I'm pretty sure we're all going to know how to shift in that situation. But we learned a lot. You mentioned before about domestic travel being the pertinent savior for Hawaii at this time, and it continuously to grow. And I wanted to point out, I'm a big air person, and noticing how this flight scheduling from international destinations has reduced. And you've doubled down on some bigger gateways, some lesser known gateways in the US, making Hawaii even more accessible to mainland US. Can you talk about what was the decision making on being more connected to mainland?
Yeah, I mean, as Hawaii, if you're from the Midwest or the East Coast, sometimes the distance is a thing that holds people back, or not being able to have a nonstop flight, taking longer to get there. And so, air service is the lifeblood for Hawaii. Obviously, we've always had a very strong lift out of the West Coast, really into all of the islands. You've got service into Honolulu, but also into Maui, Kauai, as well as the island of Hawaii. And so, really a few years back, the carriers, which is really saying that they've got faith in Hawaii in terms of filling those planes, have added, incredible lift out of New York, New Jersey with Hawaiian and United Airlines nonstop. People can't even believe that, about 10 and a half hours nonstop, which is wonderful. We've got nonstop out of DC. And then this past year, we even had nonstop out of Orlando, which is a brand new market, and out of Austin, Texas. Delta's coming back with nonstop out of JFK and bringing the nonstop back from Detroit. And so it just makes Hawaii a lot more accessible. People that didn't even believe they could get there, it wasn't even in their consideration set. Now see it as a real opportunity. And airlines pivot based on where demand is. And so as other destinations were not open, we were fortunate because they did pivot and offered a lot more service into Hawaii. So for me, seeing these airlines continue to double down on additional lift to Hawaii, even as other destinations are opening, to me says that they've got the confidence in Hawaii to be able to fill those planes and be successful. So to me, that's wonderful news, super encouraging for everyone in the tourism industry, and of course from travelers that were in markets that were currently maybe not serviced with nonstop service. So great news all around there.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, everyone in the travel community knows how important nonstops are. I mean, especially now in this day and age, we don't want to go to any layovers. We just want to go to our destination back and forth.
Yeah.
So, with the airlines having so much faith and projecting that we're going to have to fill these seats with people, what is the outlook for 2022 and 2023? And what is HVC doing in terms of inbound tourism? What kind of marketing strategies are you guys coming up with?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that even despite, competition from all of these other places, opening, we feel that business is going to be strong. We're already seeing, strong indications of that, prior to lifting the mandates. So we still think it's going to be strong. We are expecting to continue to see more air seats coming into the market. We actually just had on Monday our first day of 40,000 nonstop seats coming into Hawaii in a given day. So that was, a wonderful milestone to see. So we're expecting that. We are expecting to see the booking window expand a little bit, people booking early and earlier to secure what they want, which that is really critical. People are planning earlier and earlier, and especially for those peak times, summer months, July and August, as well as, the festive season, really important to plan early. We are seeing, again, more and more land bookings from a lot of people that were traditionally big cruise bookers. So I think that is something that we're going to see. We've also seen a significant increase in escorted tours. It's really interesting and across the board. And we're seeing, traditionally escorted tour operators that maybe offered Hawaii, but it wasn't a focus, like companies like Perillo, it's like, who even knew they did Hawaii? But we're seeing them having huge increases in Hawaii, and even other companies looking to add Hawaii itineraries to their escorted programs. So I think for a lot of people with, different protocols and restrictions, they just wanted something that was easy, that they were taken care of. So it'll be interesting to see, and we're going to be watching that to see if the popularity of escorted tours continues as well. And again, we're seeing an increase in people, as I mentioned, wanting like private tours and excursions. So that'll be interesting to watch. And we have definitely seen an increase in the percentage of bookings from travel advisors. And as we all know, the pandemic showed everyone the extraordinary value that travel advisors bring. So that's something, again, that we're seeing for 2022 and beyond. And of course, we're going to continue to support travel advisors as advocates and as partners, and so important in really creating a perfect vacation experience. So definitely looking at the next year or two very optimistically, for sure.
I love that. I mean, I think you hit it on the nail. I mean, we talked about how important planning is, not only as a destination, but also as travelers, because you mentioned about the black sand, 14 days for a specific spot. I mean, we're able to travel again, but again, it has its challenges and complications. Again, we can work it throughout, but I love the fact that you've let us know about the value of a travel advisor, because it is. I mean, it's not difficult, but it needs some support, especially going through all the different, especially the islands and protocols. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I've heard so many really positive stories about travel advisors that were able to secure, tours, activities, even dining, because they were able to tell their clients, hey, this is super important to book in advance. And then unfortunately, some of the travelers that didn't book with a travel advisor arriving in destination when a luau had been booked, all the luau had been booked for 6 months, and they can't get on the helicopter or can't visit Pearl Harbor. So like I said, more important than ever to book early and book with a trusted travel advisor to really navigate all those issues.
Yeah, and you talk about all these different experiences, like I've been to New York different times, but there's a million ways to see New York. I'm so sure there's millions of ways to see Hawaii. And I think that's an important factor for people to think about, like how do I want to see Hawaii the way I want to see? And so that's really how travel advisors work, providing that value. I did want to mention, like we talk about some of the negative things and the challenges, but what was one great thing that you could say that came out of the pandemic? Is something that you learned, or maybe just changed the way you saw a perspective?
I mean, gosh, I feel that, overall the pandemic really highlighted the importance and the ability and the freedom to travel. And how life is short. You never know what's going to happen. Take that trip. I mean, I never in my lifetime, as a US, as someone living in the US, have I ever been told I couldn't go anywhere. Yeah. So I think, I just think the fact that it is told people that travel is so important, and we all have the right to experience it. And again, don't delay and take that trip. And the other thing I think is really, my whole career has been spent working with travel advisors since I started in this industry in 1993. And to me, to have come out of the pandemic, like I said, people really understanding the value of a travel advisor. People would say to me years ago, oh, do they still exist? I don't even know. Everyone's booking on Expedia. But this whole pandemic has shown how valuable travel advisors are, not only in navigating the protocols, but advocating on behalf of clients for travel credits, for, refunds, and, everything that they do, that all travel advisors do to really, create incredibly special vacation experiences is definitely one of the silver linings, I think, that came out of the pandemic, for sure. And people that were skeptical before, I think absolutely understand now the importance of what you guys do, because it's critical now more than ever.
Yeah, and you've always been an advocate for the travel agent community, and I really appreciate all that you said, because we always talk about communication. Well, there's tons of people communicating all the time. We are like the funnel to make sure that what's needed, because everyone tried to communicate to everyone all at the same time, whether it's on social media, whether it's on TV. I mean, it was just chaotic, but I'm sure now we've all learned our lesson and be able to trust the people who are entrusted to do the things that they're supposed to do. So, but thank you so much, Robyn. I know you're a busy woman, and you've been promoting Hawaii all over, especially now that it's reopening. But spending a few minutes of your time to share and let us know how Hawaii, I mean, it's really, really a pleasure. And I'm so grateful for you to be here. With that said, is there any last minute thoughts or any advice that you can give to our viewers and listeners if they're planning to go to Hawaii, or anything that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I'm, so appreciative of everything you guys do and all of your support through these difficult times. We are here to support you. I absolutely recommend, advisors working with their tourism board partners like us. We are a resource. We're here to help you with, destination information, sales and marketing resources, and education and training. So please utilize us as a resource. We do have a great website. If anyone, wants to kind of delve in, it's agents.gohawaii.com. And just as you're booking Hawaii, utilize our resources. Book early, secure all those activities and attractions, car rentals. It's getting better, not perfect, but book all that stuff in advance, and, just continue to be the professional and positive and incredible people you are, and know that you've got partners out here that believe in you and that are here to support you in any way that we can. So yeah, just really appreciate all that you guys do, and appreciate the opportunity to spend with you today as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Robyn. I really appreciate it. You're such an industry giant, and it was such an honor to have you on the show today.
Oh, mahalo, Alvin. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll have you on again. Thank you.
Sounds good. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Oh, goodness gracious. It's so great to have Robyn. How things have changed in a few weeks ago, I would have said, I don't know what 2020 is going to be like, but things change in an instant. I mean, honestly, we're so delighted to be able to travel again, that all borders are reopening. And although the current events continue to impact certain areas in the world, travelers can rest assured that the Pacific is open, Hawaii is open, and they're ready to show you amazing experiences. Inflation continues to plague the transportation industry with high gas prices, which will ultimately lead to increases in airfare in certain tours. But as we move forward, Hawaii has increased flight schedules from a lot of new gateways, like Robyn mentioned, New York, Atlanta, Boston, Orlando, Chicago, DC, bringing the Aloha State that much closer for domestic travelers. But thank you to all of our viewers and listeners who are able to spend a few minutes of their day to learn more about the travel industry. Don't forget to catch our show every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time or 3 p.m. East Coast time on PHLV Radio, which is available on any platform you listen on podcasts. If you are ready to book travel to anywhere in the world, especially Hawaii, please reach out to our award-winning travel agency, TravelWise International, by visiting www.itravelwise.com, or you can contact us at 301-248-8811. Thank you to all of our viewers and listeners who have been able to join us on today's show. Stay safe, and until next time, smart people travel wise.
Just like a friend from back home.
This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.
PHLV.